Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Chicago Blackhawks franchise mode here in NHL 23. So in last episode we had the draft, which we got some pretty good steals in, and we also had the re-sign stage, and we pretty much brought everybody back. The only big let go we pretty much had was Donald, because our goaltending situation is going to change up a bit, but this team should be able to easily make it pretty far again next season, just based on the fact that we were able to bring back like Connor McDavid, and we do still have money for more free agents and stuff like that, but we aren't going to be signing any big name free agents, only like a backup goaltender, because we have a really good team already. And yeah, very excited for next season. Also, I did give Asher Vance an 8-year extension, which kicks in 2036-37 at 11.85 for the next 8 years. So he is going to be here for pretty much his entire career, which is great. So I'm very excited to see what he does in the last years of his NHL career, pretty much like the last 10 seasons or whatever he has left in him. Because I could see this guy playing till 36, but maybe he'll end up playing till he's like 37. He's already been one of my best goal scorers of all time, just under 500 goals already, which means I feel like he should be able to easily get around Wayne Gretzky's record of like 890 something. I don't know if he still has that record in this game, but still, pretty much, yeah, Asher Vance is locked up for the rest of the series. Who knows, maybe he won't even retire by the end of the series, because he was a pick in not in the first year, so maybe he'll end up retiring in like when he's like 37 or 38, or like I said, he might not retire at all. And yeah, we also got some more good draft deals, as I was mentioning. So unsigned wise, you can see right now we still have a lot of good prospects coming into this team, and like we're just like building up this team to being like maybe a good on dynasty in a sense, because a lot of the players we have on our roster are really good already, and we already have guys like Zuberish, Burish, we have Martins, we have Del Monte, who are all in the system and unsigned at the moment that could come up eventually. Leonardo Knights. Like, we're just building up this prospect pool to be super, super deep year in and year out, and we could easily replace certain players. Like, we even have goaltenders in the system that have medium elite potential, like Hugh Way and Blackburn, who could easily take over that starting role eventually too. So, yeah, just in general, it's been a very fun series so far because of the fact we've been drafting so well. But anyways, before we get into making a free agent signing, probably picking up a backup goaltender and maybe one depth defenseman, I do have one comment going, and that's from Saturn Otaku, who says, nice to see Vance get locked up until basically the end of the franchise mode. And yeah, I cannot agree more. This is just, it's such a huge signing for us to get him for 8 years at only 11.85. Like, that is a very big steal of a contract, considering there's a lot of other players that probably would want a lot more money than that. But Asher Vance decided after winning a Stanley Cup, he's like, you know what, I got to commit to this team as long term as possible, and that's exactly what he did. So he is here for the next 9 seasons still. And if he's not retired by the end of that, and the franchise mode is not done by the end of that, we will definitely extend him even longer than that. So anyways, also before we actually get into signing ourselves a backup goaltender, I am going to be giving out a couple more extensions already that kick in 2036-37, because I was talking with you guys on the Discord, and I feel like I definitely need to give out the extensions, especially to Reefers, because you guys think Reefers is very important to this team's future. So we are going to give him already like an 8-year extension. I am going to think about giving like Bergstrom maybe like a 6-year extension or something like that, but we're going to try the 85% trick like we did with Vance, because if we could get these two guys locked up long term, then we should be a good team regardless. Bergstrom, I think we're never going to have another number one defenseman that we drafted, based on what we've drafted so far. I don't think we're going to get another number one defender. So I think Bergstrom, locking him up makes a lot of sense. Reefers obviously makes a lot of sense because he's been also a very solid player for Asher Vance to play next to. And if McDavid retires and if we lost Reefers, basically I feel like Vance's point production might go a little bit down because he's not going to have as good of line mates. So we definitely need to lock up Reefers here on like an 8-year deal, or maybe less than an 8-year deal, maybe like a 6 or 7-year deal, because he is a little bit older. But I am going to try and lock this guy up. He does want an 8-year extension if he wants an extension. So let's try and lock up these guys also. So let me do the 85% trick and see if we can get these guys locked up as well. I know it's a little bit risky doing this because of our cap situation, but there is players that I should be easily able to flip away. And then we have guys in the system that can replace those guys eventually too. So I'm not too worried about giving out some big extensions here. So let's see if Reefers will take 10.925. for the next 8 years, which would be a really good contract as well. Like, if he accepts that, between the two of them, those are really good contracts, I'd say. And then Brunstrom, what is he wanting again? Oh yeah, he's wanting a lot. He actually only wants a 6-year extension, which is perfect for me because he's 29. If we signed him to 8 years, then obviously he'd be it'd be kind of being a little bit risky based on his age, in a sense. So I will give him the 6-year extension. He wants 12,475 though. Let's see if we could do the 85% trick on him as well. If I could get all these guys, like, I will be really happy. 10.605. I should be able to get him for that, I hope. If so, that's a decent price for a number 1 defenseman, because eventually in franchise mode they just start asking for way too much. So 10.625 for the next 6 years. We'll do that as well for Brunstrom. And then, yeah, McDavid, I think he's going to retire at the end of the season, to be honest. And, yeah, Frank Nazar probably will be eventually replaced by some younger guys, that type of thing. So not too worried about those guys, but Brunstrom and Reefers, I'd say, are key pieces for his team's future and that type of thing. So there you go. There's our extensions. Let's sign ourselves a backup goaltender and see what we're working with for backup goalies, as well as a depth defenseman, because that's the only other thing we really need. So backup goaltender wise, I was looking, I think, at Scavello, right? He only wants 825k. How good is his stats in his career? Last year he was 3-1-1 with some pretty bad numbers, but probably on some bad teams more than likely. Yeah, I think Jim Scavello might be the option. He's the best overall backup goaltender, and he's only 26, which is nice. There's also a 25-year-old in Klimchuk, but he's been pretty bad in a sense, but he's been playing for a pretty bad team. His playoff numbers aren't really that great either. He did have one really good playoff game in 32. What about Scavello's playoff numbers? Just in case we need to run a goalie in the playoffs. He's been much better. Okay, so I think I'm going to sign Jim Scavello as our backup here. We'll give him... I'll give him the 2-year deal at 825k. Just because that way we have a backup goaltender signed till one of those medium elites are ready to take over. Also, it's a movable contract if we really need to. So we'll do that, and then we'll sign ourselves a depth defenseman, probably somebody around the 78 overall range, 79. Somebody that wouldn't be listed as a top 6 defenseman, basically, because I do not want to have any morale problems. Who's listed as a depth defenseman here? Okay, some 77s, I guess, then. There is Shanahan, who's an offensive defenseman. Has solid offensive awareness, solid passing, but do I really want an offensive defenseman? His role is actually a top 6D, though, which makes no sense for a 77. Pickering, he's probably a real player. Yeah, Owen Pickering. I don't really want real players on this team, to be honest. Elliot Jenks, he's a defensive defenseman. Solid shot blocking and stick checking. Not the best defensive awareness, but still, that's not bad. He has played 183 games. He's been okay defensively at times, but he's been playing for not some great defensive teams, it looks like. Never played in the NHL playoffs. You know what? We're going to go with Elliot Jenks. I think a shutdown DFD is probably the best way to go. He wants a 2-way contract, which is also kind of good in a sense, because that will also save us a little bit more of our money in that sense. We'll just give him a 1-year deal, though. And yeah, that's the only thing we're going to sign this offseason, I'd say. Yep, that's the only thing we're going to sign is that and a backup goaltender. Let's advance a few days, see if they accept, and we'll also see if our boys that we gave big extensions to accept as well. Because if they do, then the core of this team is pretty much locked up, which is huge. Okay, so Jenks has accepted and Scavello has accepted, so we got our goaltender and our depth defenseman. Let's advance another day, and Reefers accepts the 8-year extension. That is massive as well. Not as massive as Asher Vance, I'd say, but still very, very big signing there. And Brunstrom accepts as well. This franchise mode, I feel like I'm playing literally on easy mode with how lenient these guys are to signing big-term deals. Because now when we look at our contract situation, pending UFA-wise next offseason, McDavid and Nazar obviously are big ones. Pakislati is not a huge let go if we end up losing him. And then Donald Bill, I don't really care if I lose him. The rest of these guys here, I don't care about losing. A lot of the other guys are RFAs. We almost have everybody locked up for next season already. The big RFA next offseason is Howden. which I don't really want to give him an extension just yet because I'm not sure how he's going to do as a starting goaltender this year. But yeah, our team is looking really good on the cap structure. We got 3 big guys all signed to just over, just below $12 million. And then we have a bunch of other guys signed for 6 and below. Like, I think our cap structure is fantastic in this franchise. So yeah, I'm really happy with those signings. Okay, so now that that is done, let's simulate up to next season, and we'll simulate halfway through the season, so 41 games, because I do want to see how good this team is doing at the halfway point. So Ovechkin has accepted his RFA contract. Forgot about him. He's going to be a big one that probably ends next year. There's a good chance we end up losing Ovechkin in the next few years because of the fact that we have, he's probably like one of these guys that's kind of not liking his role on the top 6, so he might eventually be gone, unfortunately, but it's part of the business. We eventually will have to start replacing some of the players in our lineup. So, like, I like a lot of the guys in our team right now, but eventually some of them might have to go. Like, for example, we might have to eventually trade away Bales because his cap hit might be a bit too much for too long term, that type of thing. Ninamaki's still holding out, and he just accepted now. Of course. Of course, after I mentioned that. But yeah, I'm very excited for the season ahead. I think our team will obviously make the playoffs, but will they win back-to-back Stanley Cups? Because I feel like we definitely can win back-to-back Stanley Cups. Just it's all about, I guess, if our team's going to do good without Donald. Because our team doesn't have that legit, really good goaltender overall-wise, but I mean, our team should still stimulate pretty good in that sense. So Vance over to the left side, McDavid on the right side, Reefers down the middle since he wins faceoffs. Probably I'd go with Nazar down the middle because Kabanov isn't as good down the middle. But we could always flip the two of them around a bit. Recchi also up to the second line. Corrado to the third line, I guess. He's a checking forward. Backer slot, he's a scoring forward. And then Bales is also a checking forward. Let's go with Package Slotty up to there. Bales on the fourth line. It kind of sucks to use Bales as a fourth liner, but only thing we could really do right now. Brigley and Patterson both need to be in over Hart and Little. So we'll put them in. Weeks is probably not going to get into the NHL team till next season, I guess. Just because there's just too much good players in this roster. Yeah, I think we're going to run with this. This looks really fantastic. Vance, Reefers, McDavid, Kabanov, Nazar, Recchi, Package Slotty, Ziska, Corrado, Patterson, Brigley, Bales. That's like almost the exact same thing we had last season. And then defensively, Brunstrom, Morris, Lowry, Nitamaki, Ovechkin, and Spiller. Or do I put the two OFDs back together? I think I'm going to go back to the two OFDs back together again. But we might flip them around a little bit. Howden's up to an 85 overall. Jeez. Yeah, I'm glad we get rid of Donald then. Yeah, our team's looking fantastic. We just need to call up that depth defenseman, and then I think we are pretty much good. We just got to make sure the AHL is set up properly. Yeah, look, see, Weeks is listed as a fourth liner now. But he's not going to get into our team till next season just because there's no room for him at the moment. We might eventually have to trade away good prospects just because of the fact we can't get them into the lineup. Who knows? So, yeah, Jenks is the depth defenseman. That's good. Power play should be set up the way we want it already, so I'm not going to worry about those lines too much. But let's go to the AHL quickly, make sure the right guys are in the lineup. Everybody's in the lineup, okay? That's good. But we have so much good prospects. Like, I'm very excited to see what Lane Weeks does when he gets to the NHL. Once Nazar is gone, I think next season, this coming off season, I think that's the time Lane Weeks is going to make the jump to the NHL. And then there's a couple other guys I think that are getting closer too, but yeah, this is a very exciting team, both in the AHL and NHL. Like, Tukio could honestly be a backup goalie for us at some stage. And we have, like, Blackburn as the medium elite goaltender down there. So everything's looking pretty good for this team right now. Okay, so that is that. Let's get simulating and simulate halfway through the season. This would be technically Asher Vance's last year on his contract before the 8-year extension. So usually I feel like players have breakout years on the last years of their deals. So maybe this is the type of year we see Asher Vance go for 70 goals. If he gets 70 goals this year, I will be literally like, I don't even know what I would say because I've never had a 70 goal score. The most I've had, I think, is like 65 or 64, something like that. So, Yeah, I'm hoping that Asher Vance could crush some records this year. Hopefully McDavid doesn't drop off too much as well, considering he is pretty much at the retirement stage. We're not having the best preseason, but bad preseason means a good regular season, right? So 4-3. Who is the best player on the team? Asher Vance, not a surprise. 7 points in 7 games. Now we're going to have a killer regular season watch. We're going to go like 20-0 to start the season. That's my guess. We're going to just be like completely blowing teams out. Like, we have a legit starter, legit backup. We have a legit defensive core. We have legit depth. We have legit offensive core. So there's no reason why this team shouldn't be good. If this team somehow does terribly in the first half, I don't know what I would do. I honestly don't know. Let's see what we do in the first month. 3 good offensive games to start the season. That's exactly how I expected it to be. Yeah, we're doing really good already. 2 shutouts in a row, 2 back against LA, and 3 straight shutouts, and then we allow 1 goal here. So in our last 4 games at the end of this month, we only allowed 1 goal in 4 games, and they were all road games except for that one against Detroit. Well, this team is definitely doing really well. Like, I honestly just want to go all the way to exactly the halfway point without even looking at the player stats or to see who's leading us in points, because I am curious on how Asher Vance is producing this year. I think I might not go back to the stat screen at all until we get to the halfway point, because, like I said, I just really want to see how good he's doing. Brigley's been injured, which is not great, but at least it's only a 4th-line center role. It's not like it's a big guy. Okay, yeah, we're killing it so far. Our offense in most of our games has been really consistent, so let's go back here, take Hart out of the lineup, and put Brigley back in. Brigley's been a really solid signing. I'm glad that he's only like an RFA as well, because we could easily retain his rights in that sense. Okay, what are we looking like now? 17-5-1. We are the best team in our division. Not the best team in the league. The best team in the league at the moment is the Boston Bruins, who we could have faced last year in the Stanley Cup Finals, but we faced Montreal instead. That's interesting. The Montreal Canadiens are also doing really well. Might be similar teams in the Final Four this year, depending on if a team's going to have a first-round exit or not. Oh, I was going to literally say not too long ago, I was literally in my head that I had this. I was going to say Asher Vance has never suffered an injury in his career. Well, there's his first injury. It's an injured hand. He's only out for like a week, so it's not the biggest problem in the world. But this could impede his chances at winning a Richard. But he usually has really good second halves, so that's a pretty big blow to the team, obviously losing Vance for like a week, but it's not the biggest issue in the world, I don't think. We do lose 2 out of those 3 games, but that's because without Vance, this team is not going to score as much, but it still should be a pretty good team. So there you go. Vance is back in. Good to have him back in our lineup. We're not scoring as much this month, but that's okay. Kind of falling back down to earth in a sense. And now Reginald Spiller has been injured with a wrist sprain, so apparently our guys can't keep their hands safe or whatever. People are slashing them or something to slow them down. Let's just go replace player. I'll put in our depth defenseman onto the top 6 likely. And Spiller is already back. As long as we don't suffer any 2 long-term injuries this year, I am pretty happy. Because short-term injuries, at least we could give our depth some chances to play. But if there is major injuries, then it kind of gets a little bit risky with our team stats and whatnot. 25-8-2. We are now the 2nd best team in our division. So that's actually kind of good in a sense that we're not winning our division. Because I don't want to win a President's Trophy because I feel like we'd be a first-round exit in that sense. But in this case right now, we are the 3rd best team in the league, I think. Boston's still number 1. Then it's the Colorado Avalanche, then us. So we might be in a good spot right now. Hopefully we can continue that. Is that the halfway point in the season? 25 plus 2 is 27. Plus 8 is 35. So we still have another 7 games to go before we're at the exact halfway point. So let's go through all these games, and then we'll take a look at player stats and all that stuff so far. I wonder how much goals Asher Vance is at so far. Probably not as much as we're expecting just because of his injury, but you never know. And now Len Morris has been injured with a pulled groin. Jeez, we're suffering some injury problems this year. But I mean, at least they're short-term injuries. 31-9-2 at the halfway point of the season. We are currently the best team in the NHL now. We have passed the Boston Bruins. Oof. I don't know if I want that President's Trophy. Unless we can win a Stanley Cup too. And okay. Asher Vance is still killing it. He missed one game apparently due to injury. And he's got 36 goals in 40 games. This guy is on pace for, I don't really know how much because I can't do math. He might be on pace for a 70-goal season or more. Let's see, 36 divided by 40. I gotta take a look at this. Times 81 because he will not be playing a full 82. Yeah, he's on pace for a 70-goal season this year. That is crazy. And he's on pace for over 120 points, which is also kind of nuts. Oh my goodness, this team is literally a cheat code right now. Let's take a look at our team stats and then player stats so far. But man, I am so glad we locked up Asher Vance when we had the chance. Oh damn, that rhymed. I didn't even realize. Yeah, we're the best team in the NHL right now. We're scoring the most in the NHL, so we're the best offensive team by far. We are also the best defensive team by far. We've only allowed 95 goals halfway through the season. Yeah, we're priming ourselves up for a first-round exit pretty much at this rate. We're the defending champions. We're going to win the President's Trophy with the best offense, the best defense, and we're going to find a way to somehow lose. We also have a top 10 power play at 22.8%. Our penalty kill is 86.8%, which is also in the same spot pretty much. 2 short-handed goals, 15-4 on home ice, 16-5-2 on the road, 8-1-1 in our last 10 games. Let's take a look at those player stats now. We've been doing so good even though we've been suffering injuries. So Asher Vance, yeah, he's been unreal. He's a plus 28 as well, and he's shooting 19.1% this year. He's already got 8 game-winning goals. He's actually missed 2 games. We didn't actually go halfway point. We just went over halfway point. He's still on pace, I think, for like a 70-goal season, which is kind of crazy, but he missed 2 games, not 1 game. Wow, what a year so far for this team and for Asher Vance. This is why you lock out guys when you have the chance. Because if I would not have given him that contract, he would have been demanding 15, 16 million maybe instead of 11 million. Or he was actually asking for 13, but we got him for 11. Unreal. He's at 533 goals now. He is already very close to being my best goal scorer of all time. Like, at the moment that I'm recording this, he is closing in on Avery Parrott and stuff like that, who's currently number 1, I think, now. Connor McDavid, 61 points. Of course, he's going to be doing good, but he is dropping off exact top 9 now, so this might be his last year. Reefer's 51 points. Fantastic still. Glad we locked him up. Frank Nazar, 39 points. Not bad, but he is a pending UFA. He's probably going to ask for a lot of money, too, but we aren't going to be able to bring him back, likely. Cabanov, 30 points, pretty damn good. Ziska, 22 points. Brigley, 18. And only 2 points for Hart in 5 games. Not bad. Look at those plus minuses, though. Everybody on the team pretty much is like a plus 20-something on this so far. Left wing wise, Bales, 17 points. Only a plus 2. So looks like the fourth line... Yeah, the fourth line and the third line might be out there for more goals against, but the top 6 is crazy. Patterson, 15 points. And Pakshlotty, 15 points. But still, when you have like fourth liners on pace for like 30 points, that's pretty good. Right wing wise, Recchi, 38 points in 42 games, plus 26. That's pretty good. And Corrado, 20 points and a plus 9. Yeah, I'm really liking our depth scoring on forward so far. Like, look at this. Like, you have these 2 guys on pace for crazy seasons. Like, we're on pace for 3 over 100-point players, likely, around. And then the rest of the guys will be probably around like 70 points and below, I guess, if they continue on that pace. And then defensively, Burnstrom, 31 points in 42 games, plus 27. That's why I locked him up. I think he's definitely still worth it. It might be a bit expensive to pay him $10 million, but I still think he's definitely the best defenseman we've had in this series, and that's why he deserves to be here long term. Morris, before his injury, had 13 points and was a plus 35. Fantastic. Gordon Lowry, 8 points, plus 14. Spiller, 6 points, plus 23. Ovechkin, 6 points, plus 7. Niedermacky, 6 points, plus 22. So the OFTs aren't bringing much offense, but I don't really know if they're getting power play time. I don't think they are. So there's that. Goalie-wise, oh my goodness. Oh no, we have to lock him up. We should have locked him up when we had the chance. Aiden Howden is killing it. Like, this might be the best goaltending stat line through 34 games I've ever seen. He might not have a good second half, who knows, but 23, 7-1 with 4 shutouts at 931 and at 2.07. We should have maybe locked him up when we had the chance, because with this team, and if our team is always this deep, having a good goaltender locked up, he's going to simulate good. 931, that's outrageous. Also, sorry if you heard like a lawnmower or something outside. That's what happens during this time of year. Scavello's been okay, but he hasn't been great. 8-2-1, 906, and a 273. But Aiden Howden is definitely the favorite for the Vezina, I'd say, at this stage. Unless there's another team that has crazy players. But let's take a look at stats around the league halfway through the season as well, because might as well. Because I am curious around the league. So Vance is tied for the league lead in points with Sylvain Parks, who we played last year in the Stanley Cup Finals. Oddly enough. So there's that. Vance is leading the league in goals despite missing 2 games. So Vance looking like he's going to win another Richard. So that didn't hinder his chance at all, that injury. Best defenseman so far, what do we got? Adam Fox. But see, like, Brunstrom is always up there. I know he doesn't pick up the most points in the world, but he's always, like, top 10 in defensive points. So that's pretty good. Best goaltender so far in terms of wins is Aegon. But the best save percentage is, yeah, Howden. And best goals against average is Howden. Yeah, so Howden's definitely the favorite right now for potentially winning a Vezina. Best rookie so far halfway through the season is Ola Bemstrom in Florida. So there is that. I don't think we're going to need to make any trades in next episode, to be honest. So if I do pre-record next episode, it's because we honestly have no need to make trades. Like, this team has just been gelling, and I don't know if we're going to do good in the playoffs because of that, but it looks like it's going to be a really fun season for this team. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Chicago Blackhawks franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll simulate the rest of the regular season. We probably won't make any trades or anything like that, just because this team is doing really, really good so far. And yeah, we'll be exciting to see how players wrap up this year. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.